His hands tremble, not from the cold, but from what he is about to do. He draws his bow, and Beta turns to face him. A glancing look of surprise washes over his brother's face before the arrow slams into his chest. Beta collapses and is dead within minutes. This is Dark Matters. This is Genghis Khan. (1162) Mongolia. In the large open grasslands known as the steppes, we are surrounded by the rugged mountain ranges of Mongolia. With freezing winters and short summers, only the strongest humans can survive this harsh, unforgiving climate. And not only did these people survive, they thrived. For the past 3,000 years, nomadic warriors have called the great steppes home. These tribes live inside small tent-like huts called yurts. A yurt is highly mobile and can be packed up within the hour and transported on the back of an ox. This allowed the tribes to migrate freely across the steppes and graze their livestock nomadically with the seasons. Yurts are built using a strong wooden lattice framework with guy poles extending to the roof. The inside of each hut is lined with felt from sheep's wool, and on the outside a leather skin is stretched tightly, making the hut insulated and completely waterproof. Interestingly, the top of each hut has a removable dome, allowing for a small fire to be burned inside. With winters in the steppes reaching minus 20 degrees Celsius, this element was crucial for survival. These mobile homes also hold significant meaning and status within the hierarchy of Mongolian life. The most prestigious yurts are reserved for the Khan, the leader of each of these tribes. In 1162, the Mongolian steppes were ruled by three great powers: the Naimans in the west, the Karayids in the center, and the Tartars to the east. Beneath each of these mighty tribes stretches a web of smaller subclans and families. In the Kentai mountain ranges of the central steppes lived a warrior named Usajai. He is the Khan, meaning leader, of the Borjigin clan, and his tribe live amongst the stronger Taichwood clan in yurts, scattered along the banks of the Onon River. On a cold winter's morning, Usajai leaves his camp and rides out on horseback with his pet falcon for a hunting trip. He gallops his beast to the top of a mountain peak before letting the bird of prey soar down the mountainside. Usajai gazes down into the canyon below, and he notices another man travelling with a young woman. The man's name is Chiladu, and he belongs to a rival tribe, the Merkids. With eyes like a hawk, Usajai spots the pretty lady, and he is taken aback by her beauty. He mounts his horse and draws his bow before galloping into the valley below. He ambushes Chiladu, and his rival flees, leaving the woman behind. Her name is Holan, and she is taken back to the Borjigin clan, where she would eventually marry Usajai. This was common for this time period. Young women are often kidnapped by rival tribes to be wedded and to bear children. By taking Holan as his wife, Usajai would strengthen his clan for future generations. Together, the couple would have 5 children, a daughter named Temujin and 4 sons, Temujin, Kasar, Hachuan, and Temujin. When baby Temujin arrives inside the family's yurt, he is kicking and screaming, and in his right fist he clutches a blood clot. Usajai looks down on his newborn son and smiles proudly. The blood clot is the sign of a true warrior, much like himself. He names the boy Temujin in honour of a rival warrior that he killed in battle. Temujin would grow up along the Onon riverbanks under the safety and protection of the Borjigin clan. Being the son of the tribe's Khan has its benefits, and his childhood is one of shelter and comfort. He spends his youth mastering horseback, hunting and fishing, and one morning whilst exploring the riverbanks, Temujin meets another boy named Jamuka of the same age. Jamuka belongs to the powerful Jardarin clan, and although they belong to different tribes, the two boys bond instantly. They would spend their youth together, sharing their love of hunting and horses, and after many years as friends, the two boys would swear an oath of brotherhood together on the Onon riverbanks, an oath to love and to protect each other for the rest of their lives. As the seasons come and go along the steppes, Temujin grows from a boy chasing fish into a young man ready for his first bride. As tradition demanded, he would not choose her alone. His father Usajai would guide him east, and the two would travel together toward his mother Holan's people in search of the bride. Along the journey, they stay with a friend of Temujin's father. The man is a farmer named Dai Seshen, and Dai's daughter Borte is the same age as Temujin. The two fathers would inspect the other's offspring, and eventually they agree for them to marry. However, Temujin must stay with Borte's family, working as an assistant to Dai. This was to ensure he earned his keep as a future husband. Usajai leaves Temujin with the family, and he begins a long 3-day journey home on horseback. And after riding for 2 days, he stumbles upon a group of Tartar men enjoying a feast of fresh goat. Usajai is on edge. He's killed a few Tartars in the past, but the men appear friendly. They offer him peace and ask him to join them for a feast and a drink. Tired and hungry, Usajai reluctantly agrees, and after a quick meal and drink of kumis, he thanks the Tartar men and begins his journey home. Always one to hold a grudge, the Tartar men have tricked Usajai and laced his drink with a slow-acting poison. Usajai barely survives the journey home, and when he arrives at his family's yurt, he collapses and is unable to stand from the deadly poison. Holan rushes to her husband's side and weeps. The poison is now in full effect, and Usajai can hardly talk. He calls for his family's friend and advisor, Father Monglik. Usajai instructs Monglik to travel to Dai Seshen and retrieve Temujin at once. And by the time young Temujin returns home, his father, his hero, and the man he looks up to, is dead. The death of Usajai Khan would cause great devastation and divide for Temujin and his family. With their leader and protector dead, the family has now become weak and vulnerable. The Borjigins live alongside the Taichuid clan, and the Taichuids never saw eye to eye with Usajai. And with the man that they disliked now dead, they view his wives and children as a liability during the winter. In an extremely cruel act, the tribe abandoned Holan and her children. This included Usajai's other wife Sochajel and her 2 kids Beta and Belgatai. Imagine it. 2 widowed mothers abandoned by their own tribe and forced to brave the brutal winter of the steppes alone. Upon hearing that they would be abandoned, Holan stands up for her family, and in a fit of rage, she holds up a banner above her head representing her dead husband. She spits and screams at the men who have abandoned them, calling them cowards. An elder of the tribe joins her and questions how they could turn their back on the family. One of the Taichuid men pauses for a brief moment before turning his attention to the elder. He simply smiles before spearing him through the chest. The elder collapses to the ground, and the men walk off laughing. Young Temujin runs to the injured man and he screams out for help. But help is rare on the steppes. The old man grabs Temujin on the shoulder and with his last dying breath he whispers, "Only the wolves shall survive." In the middle of winter and without any resources, the family's chances of survival are slim to none. With temperatures dropping to minus 20 degrees Celsius, the risk of frostbite and hypothermia are very real. Ho-Lun, however, is a fighter. She refuses to lay down and die. With her motherly instincts, she gathers her children and takes them deep into the mountains, building them a makeshift shelter. Here, the outcasted family makes fishing hooks from the bones of dead animals, and they forage the forest floor for ground roots. This would become the stuff of legend, and in a true dogfight for survival, the family work as a team, and against all odds, they survive the freezing winter. But the family's triumph would come at a cost. Eventually, tensions would begin to rise between Ho-Lun's children. Beta and Temujin are constantly fighting in a sibling rivalry. Beta is a bully and he often steals Temujin's food and beats him up. He is always making fun of his smaller brother. This rivalry would come to a head one afternoon when the boys were fishing along the Onon River. Temujin casts his fishing line into the stream and catches a silver minnow on his hook. Beta watches Temujin, and then he steals the fish, taking it as his own. Temujin leaves the river. He is upset and crying. He visits his mother inside the family's yurt, and once again he speaks of his older brother's bullying. But Ho-Lun tells her son to get over it, and that boys will be boys. By now, Temujin has had enough of the disrespect. He watches Beta walk into the woods with the stolen fish. He follows him silently, and as his brother stops for a moment, Temujin stands there barefoot in the frozen grass. His hands tremble, not from the cold, but from what he is about to do. He draws his bow, and Beta turns to face him. A glancing look of surprise washes over his brother's face before the arrow slams into his chest. Beta collapses to the ground and he is dead within minutes. Word travels fast on the mountain plains, and the Taichuid clan eventually learn of the killing. A tribal meeting is called, and they declare it unauthorized murder. They would send a hunting party to capture Temujin, and he is found hiding in the woods and taken back to their camp as a prisoner. Temujin would suffer violent beatings and humiliation from the older Taichuid males. He was made to wear a heavy wooden ox collar, and he was used as their whipping boy. Throughout the beatings, Temujin grows fearless. He fights back against the guards, and although he is beaten worse, he earns the respect of the other prisoners. They admire the bravery and the fierceness in his eyes. One night his captors are celebrating. They cook a fresh goat over a spit roast and drink kumis until they are all drunk. Temujin patiently watches his guard, and he creeps up behind him before smashing the man over the head and escaping the prison camp. He is now a fugitive, and with the power the Taichuids hold, to be captured would mean certain death. Temujin, however, is cunning, and he plays a game of cat and mouse. By hiding in the forest at daytime and riding his horse at night, he would elude the Taichuid trackers. He rides east along the banks of the Onon River and finds the camp of his future father-in-law, Dai Sechen. Dai is aware of Temujin's troubles with the Taichuids, but just like the prisoners from the camp, he notices the fire and determination in the young man's eyes. He agrees for Temujin and his daughter Borte to marry, and for the wedding gift, Temujin is gifted a black sable fur coat, a rare and prized possession amongst Mongolian people. Traditionally, the coat would have been gifted to his father, but with Usagi dead, Temujin has other plans. He takes the sable coat and begins a dangerous 3-day journey across the mountains, where he would arrive in the central steppes, seeking protection from the Taichiwood. Here he aligns with an old ally of his father's, Ong Khan, the leader of the powerful Khareid tribe. The Khareids control the central steppes and are one of the big 3 super tribes. Temujin kneels before the great leader and places the sable fur at Ong Khan's feet. This act in itself is symbolic. In essence, this is an orphan boy crying out for the grace and protection of a father that he'd lost long ago. Ong Khan gazes deep into Temujin's eyes, and staring back at him, he sees not a boy, but a warrior. This was a man that would never quit. Ong simply nodded, accepting the sable fur, and he hugged Temujin. Ong had fought alongside Usagi in many battles, and he was proud of the man that his son had become. With Ong Khan's grace, Temujin is granted clemency. He is now a free man, free from the Taichiwoods, and free to return home. He travels back to Borte, and his family would celebrate his newfound freedom. And on the banks of the Onon River, they prepare a feast and drink to good health. But trouble is never far away on the steppes. Dark matters out.